question we've got to ask ourselves about Mt Coolum is, does this area have any history? And the answer is, hell yeah it does. Not only does it have geological history, it also has history that links us from the Second World War and beyond. As most other people who have ever done videos about Mt Coolum have probably already said, it started its life off as a laccolith around 25 to 26 million years ago. These are dome-shaped bodies of molten rock that forced their way up through rock strata subterraneanly and which solidify underground like this. In Mt Coolum's case, the rock that it's forced its way through was sandstone, which is much softer than the molten rock that formed within it. But over the course of millions of years, most of that sandstone eroded away, leaving what most of this mountain is made out of. And what most of this mountain is made out of is rhyolite. So during the Second World War, America dropped both the atomic bombs on both Nagasaki and Hiroshima. And after the war, the Soviet Union became nuclear capable as well. And both Britain, both the UK and America were like, shit, we should start stockpiling these weapons because it could come in handy. Now, both countries looked to Australia to provide them uranium. On top of that, this world was becoming increasingly more interested in the prospect of nuclear power for an energy source, because who doesn't want cheaper power bills? Now, at the time, there was this idea that Australia could become the new Saudi Arabia of nuclear energy. But with all these people, the UK and America wanting these nuclear weapons and everyone being excited about the idea and prospect of uranium being used for a new energy source, Australia knew that we had uranium, but they needed a lot more than they currently knew where it was. So Australia in 1948 put out ads advertising money incentives for anyone who could find uranium ore bodies. So this led people to start prospecting for this stuff all over the place. So if you found a serviceable or economically viable ore body, you'd be given £1,000. If there was 25 tons or more of uranium there, you'd get an additional £1,000, and so on and so forth, to a maximum of £25,000, which at the time was an absolute fortune. So this starts a rush of sorts, and people all over the place are out there prospecting for uranium. You see it in the newspapers, there are all these ads about this whole rush, and people start, like I said, prospecting all over the place. There's a feverish activity up towards Rum Jungle and the Northern Territory, and now the other place they reckon there might be uranium, or in the form of uranium sands, is between Coffs Harbour and Fraser Island. So this sort of brings prospectors a little bit closer to home now, doesn't it? And one of those prospectors is prospecting Mt Coolum. His name's George Grath, and he starts searching around here in the early 1950s. By trade, he's a station master from Nambour and a geological hobbyist. So Grath takes his trusty Geiger meter up onto Mt Coolum, and he sticks the Geiger counter up against a rock. Pretend my iPhone has a Geiger counter, and what do you reckon happens? That's right. So Grath is absolutely stoked. He reckons that he's found an ore body that covers the area of 200 acres. This creates great excitement in the area, and in August 1952 it makes the paper. You see that over there? That is Coolum. In 1952 there's about 200 people living there, and all the roads are dirt and there's no power. So this community must have seen the discovery on this mountain and thought it very exciting. Now, 2 government geologists are sent up this way to assess George Grath's claim, and they come to the conclusion that it is very, very strange that George's Geiger meter is reacting like this, because what he's found is not uranium. But our man Grath, he ain't having a bar of that. He's like, I've done photographic tests and there's only 2 ores that will ever react like that, and that's high-grade uranium and thorium. So our man Grath, he continues to make noise, and of course it makes the papers yet again. They also observe something else, and that is that these ore samples give off less and less signal the further and further they get away from this mountain. They get weaker and weaker and weaker. By the 4th of September 1952, the answer is conclusive. By 1953, our man Grath's back at it again. We see him in the paper yet again. This time, he's been down to Sydney and he's been showing his so-called uranium to people of Sydney, and he's handing out flyers to people, and he's saying, I can't wait till the Americans come to Coolum and profit of all this amazing uranium we've got. And what's more, he's taking people to the site here at Coolum with his Geiger counter, and he's showing them. So it sort of begs the question, doesn't it? What was setting off his Geiger counter if it wasn't uranium? Well, it turns out that a Geiger counter can pick up all sorts of other radioactive compounds as well, and one of them is potassium. And we know this because when trucks carry bananas and they cross borders or they enter ports, they set off Geiger meters all the time. And the thing is, a single banana carries a very tiny, minute, harmless amount of potassium, but a truckload will set them off. But do you remember at the beginning of the video, I said, and what most of this mountain is made out of is rhyolite? Well, according to Oregon State University and a great number of others, guess what rhyolite's high in? So according to the Coolum Advertiser, what had set the Geiger counter off was the rhyolite rock breaking down in contact with the air. So wherever George Grath was prospecting on this mountain, what he was probably finding was rhyolite that had somewhat degraded and thus was releasing potassium as rhyolite can do. Anyway, I'm going to go and enjoy what's left of a sunrise in the rain and enjoy an environment that's not been absolutely, utterly annihilated by the production of uranium. Anyway, off to other adventures. Toodle pip. Anyway, if you like quirky videos like this, I've made a heap of others on the bizarre history of this area and other places, so please go and check them out also. Please like, share and subscribe. Cheers. Thanks.